I'll stick
Okay,
with Facebook.
we are starting. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Prosperity Connections class this morning on savings. We have several of our Prosperity Connection coaches online with us. They're going to be going over questions around savings and how to improve your finances, how savings can help with helping out your credit score and paying down debt while you're trying to save money. And so that's kind of a back and forth that a lot of people do. So we're going to have some questions, and our coaches are going to answer those as we go along. So I want to introduce them, let them say a few words before we get going. So first up, let's have Hope Johnson give us a shout out.
Good morning, everyone. So glad to have you here.
Awesome. And then we have Amber Robinson.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here.
And Nashelle Harris.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you this morning.
All right. So our coaches work with clients one-on-one, help them reach their financial goals. So at the end of the presentation, we can let you know how you can sign up to work with one of these fabulous ladies. But we're going to go ahead and get started and start talking about savings. So April, some people don't know this, but this is Financial Literacy Month. And after going through 2020, it's a really good time to spotlight the importance of savings and getting on track financially so that we can move forward this year, and we're going to help you make the most of your savings. So let's start off with some whys. And to get us started on those whys, let's talk about, the biggest reason why you might want to save. And I know Amber's got some things that she wanted to talk about there. So Amber, why is it a good idea to do this?
Well, I mean, me personally, I think one of the biggest reasons that you should be thinking about saving, putting a plan together, is for mental health. This last year sucked for a lot of us. And if you didn't have any savings, it probably sucked just a little bit more, so thinking about, reducing stress and anxiety and having that little peace of mind that if something major were to happen, you have a little bit of money to cover the distance is imperative. And it will make you sleep easier at night. So I think that savings really does correlate with mental health.
That's a really good point. I know that's definitely, something to think about and put that at the top of your list for sure. Nashelle, what are your thoughts about that?
I would say when it comes to savings, I heard this really great phrase from someone a few years ago where they said they considered savings forget you money, but let's just say they didn't say forget you. But I think kind of the underlying thing is that when you have savings and you have a cushion, it does give you a bit of freedom to sort of set your boundaries for what you will and won't accept. If you have a job that's really treating you horribly, you have your forget you money, you have, money that can last you a couple of months while you find a new job, or say you broke up with someone and, you can say forget you and you have enough money to get your own apartment and get out that lease, where money isn't the reason you have to stay in a relationship. And so obviously it's very difficult, and for a lot of reasons, whether it's, low wages or, wage gaps and things like that. Obviously not everyone has the ability to save up these large forget you money funds. But I think, if you are in a position where you have extra money at the end of the month, think about your savings as a way to provide yourself freedom, not only to leave sort of less than ideal situations, but also to take advantage of something that comes your way. If you hear about a great job that opens up in, Tucson, if you have that money set on the side, you can set up shop in a sunny new city. And that's the other part of savings, is where not only is it protecting you, but it also allows you to sort of take advantage of opportunities as they come your way and not let money be as big a barrier as if you didn't have that money set aside.
That's really great advice. I hadn't really thought about that positive side of it. You know, I was always thinking about that, the more forget you kind of thing. So I really like that. Yeah, you can take advantages of an opportunity right as it happens and not have to worry. So thanks for that. So Hope, what about you? What are your thoughts about WISE?
I think both Amber and Nachelle hit it right on the head for both of them. I agree 100% with what they said, right? I think I would take it and go one step further and say it's a tool, right? Savings is a tool, and we don't tend to think about that, right? We tend to think about credit scores. We tend to think about paying down debt. We tend to think about budgeting, all those different things. When we think about our finances, we think about those more popular or more trendy things. And savings is kind of like the old lady in the background that's not really getting her fair share of time. But savings is a tool, right? And it's probably one of the most versatile tools that we have in finances, right? So if I have money in savings, like Nachelle says, something goes wrong with my car, I've got money to pay for it. I don't have to worry. I don't have to stress. It's not, I got confidence. I can move forward. If I lose my job, I have a little bit of time, right, to go find a new one without stressing. And if I want to go on vacation, I got money. I can go do those things. So it's a very versatile tool, good and bad. It can allow you to buy a home. It can allow you to buy a car. And your credit score is very good too, but it's extra, right? I mean, so there's a lot of things I can do with money in the bank that I can't do with my credit score. So I think it's a great time during April, Financial Literacy Month, for us to really kind of look at the old lady in the background and realize that you've got somebody in your corner if you've got some savings. So it's a good time to start looking at it.
That's an awesome way to look at it.
Like an old lady? Oh no, trust me. I'm so used to getting looked at like an old lady right now. So
I know all about that. So there's lots of ways to start a savings. There's lots of ways to get going, but you know, how do you make that commitment to, you know, getting a plan together and designating money that you might have used in another way, and maybe what types of savings are there? You know, there's a lot of ways to do this, but I'm pretty sure there's probably a right way and maybe a not so great way to go about it. So can we take a look at that as far as what types of savings are out there?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's no wrong way to save, right? So anything that you do for savings is a good way, but there's certainly better ways to do for that one. Yeah, and I think maybe that's probably the best way to start, is different ways to think of savings, right?
Okay.
So I guess probably the thing that I would start with, or the one that always is like top on my list, and anybody else can kind of chop in here to let me know what you think too, is emergency fund. That's what's running through my head for the past year, right? Is that emergency fund background to make sure that you've got a little bit of a safety net for yourself. So I think that's probably a really great place to do. If you don't have an emergency savings fund, we need to get you one, right? We need to get you started.
Excellent. What else out there, ladies? Amber?
Honestly, I mean, I agree. The emergency savings fund is definitely something that everybody should be working towards. It's probably also the most daunting and overwhelming goal, because, you know, most people recommend that you have 3 to 6 months worth of savings, and that's kind of hard to, you know, conceptualize in your mind. I would say start small and make sure that if you're planning on putting a savings goal together, that it is consistent, possibly even automatic, and don't try to overdo it. I would much rather see a client start off saving $5, $10, $20 a paycheck and watching that grow long term than try to be too aggressive, try to save hundreds of dollars if they can, and then jump off the bandwagon. It's also not a bad idea, if you are planning on saving that emergency fund, to put it in an account that you don't really have easy access to. I know, Carol, you were talking the other day that you have an account that's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And been really successful. So, think about that. You don't want to have a debit card attached to that savings account. You don't want to be able to nickel and dime your savings account every single time you want a purse or a pair of shoes. So those are a few things. And as far as accounts, I'm going to let somebody else answer that question because we've got a lot of accounts that we are going to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. Those shoes are not an emergency, right? Those shoes are
No.
not
Well,
an emergency.
no.
Michelle, right? Maybe.
I was just going to add on. Yeah. Amber hinted at my big savings plan, and I decided to start designating some money to come out of my paycheck. And I attached it to a bank that I don't bank at with my regular money. That bank is in Illinois and I live in Missouri. I do not have a debit card to that bank. So if I want that money, I have to drive a long way to go to the one branch that that bank has that they do not have in Missouri. So that money has grown so much and I don't have any access to it. So if I want something out of that account, I really have to want it. So I have not touched it and I don't feel it. I don't see it and I can't get it no matter what I want because I've got no cards. So anyway. All right. So let's talk about some more types of savings. Nichelle, what else do we have? So we know we've got emergency funds and that's really important. But what about, are there any specialty things that people do?
I think in addition to emergency savings, also things like saving for retirement. That is a very, very long-term, far in the future thing, which I think a lot of us don't think about. On the list of things, I would say get your emergency fund set before you kind of start doing the other things. But, if you're kind of set and you're generally okay, start thinking about that long term because you don't want to be, 70, 80 years old and, only living on Social Security, or you don't have a little bit of income to supplement your Social Security check. And so saving for retirement actually is investing. And so we're going to have a lot more information in classes about that later in the year. But, when we say save for retirement, we're telling you, put your money aside so that, once you have retired and you've reached old age, you have that money waiting for you in the bank. But, if we're getting technical, it is investing. So I will have people say, I want to start investing. I want to invest. Tell me how to invest. And I'm just like, get a retirement account. It's that investing bug and also save, I think saving for retirement and investing for retirement kind of is that old lady in the corner. It's not as exciting as, hopping on the GameStop bandwagon or, I don't know, Forex or whatever random things people are talking about. But, that is the way most Americans do invest. So I think considering your sort of long-term financial health is another way to really think about savings. Another thing is saving for college. So whether it's yourself further down the road, or if you have kids and you want to, if not pay their whole tuition, cover, sort of room and board or cover books and stuff for them. Another investment / savings option is what's called 529 college saving plans. And essentially it is an investment account. Once again, if you want to get into investing, there are ways to do that can also lead you towards your financial goals at the same time. So I think those are two sort of more long-term sort of investing, but we normally would consider that savings kind of when we're talking day-to-day language that are really important to consider. So, once you have your emergency savings set, which depending on how much you have, emergency can be ideally 6 months, but it could be, can you cover one missed paycheck? Can you cover one trip to urgent care? So it doesn't have to be 6 months or nothing. Just like there's a big range between retiring with $1 million and retiring with no dollars. So yeah, I think kind of thinking about your long-term goals and sort of your long-term financial health is another part of savings that we don't always think about because it's not as exciting. Sometimes I think it's exciting, but it's not as immediate. You don't get to touch that money for the next until like 40 years from now. So, but it's going to be so exciting when 40 years from now you realize how much money you've saved.
I think it's exciting too, but I might be a little bit of a math nerd. So
I think we're all financial nerds on this call. I think that's how we're going to look at this. But I think that savings is really exciting, right? Because it's that confidence level that Amber talked about earlier. That sense of I'm okay and my family's going to be okay either now or in the future. That sort of long and the short term look at it. And once you get started and you start seeing that money grow through compound interest and just sitting there and it's starting to work for you, it does get exciting, right? Who doesn't like to have more money for nothing? Yeah. I am a financial nerd. Sorry. And I'm an old lady too. Okay. We're moving on.
Those are all really great ideas. And I think that the big thing that I think about is, when I was a new employee, I was a teacher back in the day, and those older teachers pulling me aside and saying, okay, Carol, I know you don't want to think about this, but you need to call this guy and set up an account and start investing because, that teacher's retirement isn't going to be enough. You're going to need some more. And I think that was like the smartest thing I ever did. But I was in my 20s and I didn't really understand all of the ins and outs, but I understand now because I am retired from teaching. And I see what that did back when I was, 24. So it's just a good plan. So hope besides telling people to open savings accounts or start investing as soon as they possibly can, where should I not put my money? I just heard this on another website, and somebody was talking about cleaning out their parents' house and saying that they found money inside pages of books and
Right.
just stashed all over the house. And they almost had somebody just come clean it out for them and not. So
Well, you always hear that, right? I mean, you always hear like these occasional stories on the news where somebody sold something to the library, the book collection from their parents, and there was all of a sudden $1 million in there and that sort of stuff. So, right, that would be nice. We would all like to find money in somebody else's mattress that we would be able to keep. But when we're talking about our own money, right, and that sort of stuff, we would probably say, no, don't put that in your mattress. Don't put that under your mattress. Don't put that in a jar. Don't put that in a book, right? Part of having savings and part of having that mental confidence and knowing that you have money and that you're safe financially is about making sure that the money that you're saving is in a safe place for you. So we'd always recommend get a savings account, right? There are lots of different options out there and we can talk about some different ones that might work for you, but having your money in a bank facility, whether it's a credit union, a bank, online banking, gives you protections. If something happens to your house, if there's a fire, if you get robbed, your security isn't just gone without any option for you, right? We want to make sure that you're getting savings to protect yourself, and then we want to protect the savings. So if you don't have a savings account, get one. Please get one. Any way that we talk about or any of the stuff that we talk about, right?
Well,
and then we'll look for somebody else's mattress. We'll look for somebody else's mattress.
And hope to piggyback off of that. I was a teller for a while before I did all this. And I remember so clearly somebody stashing money in their wall for an emergency and that money just coming out moldy and messed up. And, you know, that money is made out of paper and it is very easily destroyed. And it's not something that you can get back once it's destroyed. So take care of it. Don't just don't stash it away. Moldy money is useless money.
And it's icky.
Yeah.
That is the worst way to lose like hundreds, if not thousands. I would cry. But one thing I did want to point out, because I have had clients or people I've spoken with who, don't want to put their money in the bank because, for instance, they either have had bad history with banks or their families had bad history, which, you know, that's a whole long conversation about a lot of the ways that the banking industry has sort of mistreated a lot of members of our community. On the other hand, going back to what Hope and Amber said, you know, when we're talking about the logistics of saving, putting your money in a bank or a credit union also means your money's insured up to about $250,000. So there is a federal entity called the FDIC for banks and the NCUA for credit unions. And, you know, if that bank goes under, your bank branch burns down, if there's some sort of fraud, like your money, like your identity stolen, your money's insured. You'll get that money back. I've had that happen. I have, when I was out of town visiting family, my debit card information was compromised. And then all of a sudden I was out $200. And so I called up my bank and I was like, hey, this is what happened. I screenshot sort of the transactions that were fraudulent. You know, I called, it was someone paying for Uber rides. I don't know like what kind of scams involve Uber nowadays, but it was like $200 something in Uber rides. And I'd had an overdraft because all that money was gone. All this had happened, but, you know, I called the bank and then kind of showed them what happened. They started processing it. They closed my card. I got my like couple $100 back. They reversed the overdraft charge, so I got that money back. And when I got home, they gave me a new debit card. You know, if someone had stolen my wallet with $200 cash in it, like it would have just been too bad, so sad. So that's the other thing, is that your money is protected, not only from, you know, moldy walls, but also from things like identity theft, which that is the topic of today's class or today's sort of coaches talk. But it is something to remember because I am forgetful and I have lost my wallet an embarrassing amount of times, which is part of why I do not carry cash.
I think too, like kind of going with what Nachelle is saying with that one, there are protections, but understand that savings is different from checking, right? If you have concerns about banking, if you've had bad experiences, that's totally understandable. And we need to find ways to help you get more comfortable or more confident to make sure you're protected. But savings is different from checking. So putting money into a savings account that's not hooked to a debit card or a checking account, you don't have to worry about those kind of details, right? It's not meant for transactions. It's meant for savings. So even if you are worried about that and have good reason to be, understand that you have options for savings that might still be very helpful to you, right?
Awesome. Okay, so we're kind of in that where to put your money thing. You know, we kind of did a where not to, how to, different types. So you just said there definitely a savings account versus all of your money being accessible in that checking account, which is funny because almost no one writes checks anymore, but that's what they still call it. That just occurred to me. Keeping it, making it separate, making it hard to get. And just wanted to say one more thing about that is I did try to have a savings account at my own bank. And I do almost everything, you know, debit card, online, and it is way too simple to slide your money from one over to the other. And I tried it multiple times and would end up with a zero balance on that savings account every single time. So I cannot stress to you enough to find another bank, find another credit union. Maybe you don't have to go to that extreme and put it in another state like I did. But that just had to do with the fact that it's military related. So it's a Navy Federal.
And Carol, to piggyback off of that, you know, some of these online banks that they have now, it takes a couple days for that transfer to process. So, you know, you can't necessarily impulse buy if it takes a couple days for it to process. So,
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
You know, oh, I can't buy this. This is my emergency money. And, you know, not necessarily just keep your money close, but not too close.
And it really does help with that impulse buy, because I did have the notion like, oh, I think I want to get a new laptop. And then I had to start thinking about, oh, I'm gonna have to go over there to get this money or, figure this out. And then by the time I thought about doing that, the sensation of wanting a new laptop died down. And then I was like, I can still go with this one, and then the next thing is, okay, we really need a new refrigerator. So I'm like, I don't want a laptop. I want a refrigerator. But again, that money is over in Illinois. So it may be a minute before I actually do it. And who knows how much more money gets deposited while I'm trying to decide. So the money is still growing. And again, it's coming off of a paycheck. I never see it. And it's, it's really very simple. But again, because it's somewhere else.
Yeah, Carol, just to kind of go with what you guys are saying about that one, if you don't feel confident, let's say you don't have transportation to get to faraway places or that setup, look at your bank too. Some banks offer restricted kinds of savings, which means you can put money in, but you have to wait certain periods of time before you can take it out, or there's only certain times of the year that you can take it out without a penalty to do so. If you don't have other options, at least check with your banking facility or your credit union and see what they might have to help you, right? To see what you can do with that.
So would that be like some of those, like a CD or a money market or?
It can be, and those are kind of like the next thing that we can talk about too, but it may just be, so we talked about types of savings, we talked about emergency fund savings, and we talked about retirement savings. There's a whole level in the middle that you can look at too that are specialty savings, right? So I want to save for my vacation. I want to save for Christmas. I want to save for my anniversary type of thing, where you can literally set up a type of savings account that's for a purpose, right? That you're putting money into on that one. And some facilities let you say, okay, well, here's a holiday fund or here's a spring break fund type of thing. It says, okay, you can put money in all year, but you can only take it out this month without a penalty for doing it, right? And their point is not to penalize you for saving your money. The point is to incentivize you not to take it out, right? To make sure that you're using the most for that. Amber, you got a slot. I can see it's coming out.
Thinking about savings, I also want to go back to the mental aspect because you were talking about penalizing for savings. Thinking about savings as building for your future, not taking away from the present, is huge.
Very good. Yeah.
If you're thinking like, oh, I want to save, but I'm just too broke, or I have other things that I need to do. You got to get your mind around the fact that, delaying a little bit of pleasure could be the difference between having a prosperous future or not. So really consider how you're thinking about savings and what it's doing for you.
Good point. That was a really good point.
So I actually kind of wanted to go back to Carol when you're talking about the money market accounts versus high yield savings versus normal savings. So these are all kind of just different ways to manage your money. So high yield savings account, kind of like the name says, will give you a higher yield or you'll earn a bit more money than your traditional savings account. Whereas a money market account is kind of like a very, 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 very low grade investing type thing. Like so low, it's like basically a checking account that does a little bit extra. But you could set up a money market account kind of like the way you might with a savings where you wouldn't have a card connected to it and all that stuff. And so I think for me, when I learned about all these different kinds of savings accounts, I got just like overwhelmed with the options. And I think at the end of the day, it's not a big deal which one you choose. Like when we're talking high yield savings versus regular savings, we're talking a difference in maybe 1%. Like these are not world changing interest rates. So I have a traditional savings account just because I've been using it. It's what I know. It's been effective for me in saving that way. Sort of me, I have my savings in that account and I have multiple savings account types. So you can go wild with all the different kinds of savings accounts you want to have. Like I have my accounts, I have them named with like, this is my emergency fund. This is my fun money. This is my like whatever it is. I have them all kind of set out. And it took me a while to set up that system and I'm not changing it for an extra 1%. So I think that's the other thing too, is that it really is sort of like a potato thing. It's not a big deal. You're not wasting your money by not having a high yield savings account. Like that's a difference of maybe like $6 a year, unless you're in that, hundreds of thousands of dollars in your savings account, in which case you need a whole higher level of financial advising. If you're just wondering what to do with your $250,000. But yeah, I think that just kind of don't stress yourself out over which account is better. Just, it's an account you won't be reaching into like a piggy bank. It's an account that's secure, that is insured by either the FDIC or the NCUA, and it sort of fits your needs. So, credit union, traditional bank, online bank, they're all fine. Just, I just like to point out, because I got so stressed when I found out there were so many ways, and I read all these articles that were like, if you don't put your money in a high yield savings account, then you just don't know what you're doing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, do I not know what I'm doing? It's not that serious.
Right. It's a way of tweaking. All those options are tweaks. What the big part is, start the savings. Once you get a little bit of pot, then you can decide, okay, yeah, I want to move this over to a CD that'll last for 6 months or a year that I can do some stuff with. But the important thing is just to start, right? And starting traditional, don't fret about the details, right? Good point.
Right.
Yeah, great.
So we know why we should save. We know the different types. We know good places to do this, but how do I get started? I think that's a big question everybody might have, as far as, where do I get this money? Maybe I'm living in the paycheck to paycheck zone. So how do I get going?
Well, most people aren't going to like this answer, but it usually involves budgeting to an extent, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm not going to go into major detail because that's not the topic of today, but really being aware about what's coming in your household income wise and what's going out, and trying your best to make smart choices and write it down as a plan is going to be the main key to, long-term savings. Having a plan is everything. Having it written down as a goal somewhere where you can see it, on the fridge, on the bathroom, where you can focus in on it and, make it a part of your day-to-day priority list. That's what I would say. And, start small again. I don't get too aggressive. If it's new to you, take it easy and build your way up. Just like if you were going to the gym, you don't start off with the 50-pound weights. You start off with a 10 and you work your way up. Same with savings. You gotta practice. Practice makes perfect.
That's excellent advice.
I was going to say, kind of off of Amber, as far as like kind of the like technical things. I mean, you do have a few options. So if you get direct deposit at your job, you can go to the HR, whoever manages sort of how your pay is distributed, and add your savings account to sort of one of your distributions, or one of the ways to get your check. So you can either choose usually by percent. So you can start off and say, I want 5% of my check to go to savings, or you can start off with a number, say, I want to start off with $10 of every check going to savings. And then, if after a couple of months you realize $10 was easy, then maybe bump it up to $20. And then, if $20 is still easy, then, keep bumping it up. You don't have to start off, like Amber said, you don't have to start off kind of, going crazy like those people you see online where they're like, I save 80% of my paycheck. The vast majority of Americans cannot save 80% of their paycheck. A lot of those people, 80% of their paycheck is more than my whole paycheck. So, it is important to just kind of, start low and just kind of build your way up. And you can either go to your job and do it that way. If you don't get direct deposit, or it's just your HR takes a long time to respond, you can set up a bill pay to another bank account. So if you get everything deposited into your checking, you can have your checking account automatically send that money somewhere else. So that's another option if you want to automate it, but doing it through your work isn't very useful. The third way requires a bit of self-control. I would say this is the way I would not suggest doing it. But if the other two don't work, like when you get that paycheck, literally the first thing you do is transfer that money. Like, yeah, so when you get your check and you're transferring that $5, don't even think about it. Don't look at anything. Just send that $5, $10 away immediately. Like, don't wait till the end of the month. Don't wait until the end of the 2 weeks. Do it the first time you get your check. So we didn't mention it here, but when it comes to saving, you're treating yourself as your most important expense. So just like when you get your paycheck, you pay your light bill, you pay your car note, you pay whatever, add that bill. So, I get my paycheck, I send my money to savings, I pay my car note, I pay my rent, just add it to that list. But yeah, I would say in order of what I would suggest, if you can get it through work so you don't have to touch anything, that'd be best. Set up yourself as a bill through your bank account so that it still doesn't require you to do it. And then if those two don't work for some reason, kind of just when you pay your bills, send it to savings so that you don't have time to think about it before you do it.
That's an excellent idea. What about if you suddenly come into some money? Like right now, people are getting tax returns.
Let me give you my phone number. If you're suddenly coming into money, let me give you my phone number.
Stimulus money, what do we do there? Because that's fun, to get that sudden hit of money. Do I have to put it all away?
No, not all of it, but please put some of it away, right? I mean, it kind of goes back to what Amber and Nachelle were saying. When we say start small, it means there's probably money, and Amber, budgeting is always good to talk about, all right? We should talk about that every class on it. There's probably always money in your account and in your life somewhere, right? There's a hamburger that you went to get, there's pizza that you did, there's an extra streaming service that you did. There's always a little bit in your life that you're using to treat yourself, and treating yourself is great, but always keep in mind what your goals are. What's really your priority? What is really important to you? And make sure that when it comes to your money, you're putting a little bit towards that priority, right? And the same thing kind of goes when you get these windfalls, whether it's your tax return or stimulus payments or dividends or a gift from a family member or that mattress that you found that had a lot of cash in it, right? Let's put your savings as part of your plan. Use your tool that you have and make a plan for using it. So in that instance, it's real simple to say 30, 30, 30. Okay, so if you get a windfall of money, 30 goes towards paying down your debt, 30 goes into savings, and 30 goes towards blowing it to have fun, right? Then you've covered all of your bases. You're helping your credit score, you're helping your credit, you're helping your savings, giving you a back safety net to do, and you're having fun with it. So just kind of a way to break it up and still hit all your bases, hit all your buckets.
I like that I get to have a little bit of fun with it.
Definitely. There's some shoes out there that are calling our names.
You gotta have fun money, because at the end of the day, if you don't budget or put savings towards having fun, you're not going to want to do budgeting or savings because it's not going to be fun, So I think that's a really good point, Hope.
I think just being realistic, having some realistic plans is always a good idea.
Too, look at if you have a bank account or a checking account, look at that. A lot of banks now are offering roundup programs or save money programs where if you spend $5.49, they take 51 cents and automatically deposit it into your savings. You're not going to get rich with that, but what are you going to do with that 51 cents, right? It's another way to sort of do that auto payment and put savings so it's not always on you. It lets your money do some of the work for you.
Yeah, roundup programs probably more than you'll get on that money market account. Those are awesome ideas. So I didn't know if we had any questions over on Facebook. Okay. So let's take a look. We're kind of getting down to the wire here. Last thoughts or tips. Amber, what you got?
I wish that savings was just the funnest thing that anybody could ever do. But at the end of the day, If you want to work on saving, the best way to do it is to just go for it. And you know, if you've got big goals, don't be afraid to talk to your significant other or your family about it, because it's gonna be a change. Anytime you're doing something new or implementing a new habit, it takes a time for things to adjust and change. So just do your best and keep working at it. You know, I've been trying to save my emergency fund for 10 years. Something always happens. I'm not going to stop trying, you know, and I suggest you do the same.
That's a really good plan. You know, if one partner in the relationship is all into the savings and the other one is the spender, sometimes you end up clashing a little bit. So I guess it's better if at least one is the saver, right? I used to be the spender and now I'm the bigger saver. So sometimes those roles reverse on occasion.
So how did that happen for you, Carol? How did you go from being a spender to being a saver?
Well, I think part of it is, honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the pandemic. You know, I have been more, you know, I think the only thing I have really spent my money on is groceries most of the time. And, you know, my husband is all about shopping online and books and, you know, those kinds of things that are really important. So at least one of us, but I will say that, you know, when we started watching my account growing that I can't touch, he also has one. So he's always been really good about it. He ended up increasing his contribution to his because mine has more money in it. So now it's kind of a competition. So yeah, it's all one bank. We all have his money is attached to my money no matter what anyway, but this is the one that my money is going into. So
And it got exciting, right? I mean,
it is. It's kind of a little competition. I think he was getting a little jealous that my account had more in it. So he's increased his off of the top of his paycheck. So, you know, it's whatever it does. So it's that whole, I think, Nichelle, you were saying something about making it fun. So that's my fun. Anything else? So Hope, what would your one idea be? Last thought.
I have two. Well, let's go two. So, well, let's go three. I'm old. I'll just keep adding as we go along. So let's do three. Let's go with
And then
we don't go over our time on this one. First thing, Amber said it. We've all said it a number of times. Start small, but start. Whatever you do, start. If you have not been saving, make that a goal for yourself in 2021. Challenge yourself to do something a little bit different. And if you're still kind of wavering about whether or not you're doing that or not, think about all the different things that we've said. It's about you being important to you, right? This is investing in you. Your savings is about you creating a new future for yourself. So don't cheat yourself on this really important tool as we're going through. Second point, emergency savings are great, but guess what? They're for emergencies. So when they happen and you deplete that money, it's natural for you to feel depressed because all that money you saw growing is now gone, right? And you may feel like, oh, that I didn't really accomplish anything. You did. That money did exactly what you set it for. So you restart the ball and you build it back up again for that next emergency that comes up, right? It's not just a one and done with savings. You're going to see it fluctuate. So don't beat yourself up if it's not exactly what you want it to do. And third point that I would say about saving money is use that time, use the money that you're trying to put together as part of your plan. Right? So we talked about it being important to you as your setup, but make sure you're including it in all of your financial plans. And if you have questions about that, like Amber said, come talk to a coach, right? Let's start putting a plan in place for you that includes all of the pieces, including savings, right? Get some help. If you've got questions or you have things that you need help on, just let us know. That's what we're here for. So those are my three. I'll shut up now. I'll be good.
Okay. Nichelle, what you got?
So since Hope broke the rules, I am too. So I would say I have two things and a prequel. And so
Oh,
the prequel is I just kind of want to point out that sort of we didn't say it, but I feel like we all agree that if throughout this pandemic you didn't have money or you were on hard times or you didn't have that savings, like none of us thinks that like you're a bad irresponsible person because you did not have savings. Because one, who in the world was like, you know what, I think there's going to be a pandemic next year, I should probably be prepared. And two, a lot of Americans make such low wages that having the kind of money needed to get you through a storm is very difficult, if not impossible. And so I don't want to ignore that fact and act like, everyone can just save 3 to 6 months. What we're talking about here is sort of ideals. For the longest time, like if I had a couple $100s in savings, I was like, we're good. So, I just want to point that out that, a lot of people, because they make low wages or because they have very inconsistent work, it's not possible. Like it just isn't. And so I don't want to act like we don't recognize that. Like we definitely understand that. The other thing is I want to kind of go back to what I said about sort of that forget you money. Saving and having money in the bank allows you to not take any mess. If someone's, crossing your boundaries, they're treating you like everything but who you are, having that money in savings allows you to go, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need you. And I think that's a really great thing. And then the second thing after the prequel, so technically the third thing, is that when it comes to saving, I think one of the biggest things, because like Carol, I'm a spender, Carol was a spender, I still am. This savings thing is great. I'm working on it, but it is not in my nature. So the thing for me that gets me saving is really visualizing what I'm working towards.
right.
Even for me, like I will set myself like treats as like when I reach a goal. Like if I reach like this amount of savings, I can spend this much on my birthday present. And so then I get to save plus, and then so when I get to my birthday, I've hit my savings goal, and I have that money set aside so that, I can blow it on whatever I want and I don't feel guilty. Or, if I want to buy a house, I love Zillow. And so I will look on Zillow for so long and just go, oh, you know what? These people just don't know anything about decorating. And I just can't wait until I have my money right. Because I'm going to buy the house and show them how to decorate. And so I think sort of making it fun and really visualizing what you're working towards is another really good way to save, especially for specific goals, because people will come to us and they want to buy a house, but they don't want to save. And I'm just like, you can have an 800 credit score, but if you don't have any money in the bank, you're still not getting the house.
Right.
So exactly. I think kind of remembering that pretty much every goal you want requires saving, and visualizing what you're working towards and reminding yourself constantly. Like when I'm tempted to reach into my like emergency savings, I will go to the website of what I want for my birthday and just like look at it for a bit. And then just like look at it, just think about how good my life is going to be with that thing in my life. And then that desire to dip in fades away because I know there's something I'd rather have. So kind of using my shopping impulse in my favor. That's yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking about something Hope said in where she was talking about those little small purchases that you just do on a daily basis, and how that adds up, and how much you could have if you weren't doing that. And just during this pandemic, I don't know. I would probably have to sit down and figure it out, but how much money we saved at our house because we weren't leaving the house to go to work and stopping at Starbucks and getting that coffee on the way to the office. And, that's an automatic payment because it's set up on our phone. And the second that fund goes below a certain amount, that charge hits the account. And so neither one of us have done that. We make coffee every day at home, and I know how much that has saved. I just need to put pen to paper and figure that out. But I mean, that's something that I know that we probably saved a lot of coffee money. You know, just
Carol,
by buying coffee at the store and, you know, all that.
I mean, you got 20 work days in a month and $6 a pop at Starbucks. That really does start to add up, you know, if you go every day. I agree.
Well, I just drink black coffee, so mine's more like $3.
I'm a diva, so
If you're gonna get it, go all the way. That's what I say. Get
Yeah,
the cream, get the-
I'm a low maintenance black coffee drinker, so yeah.
I think too, and we talked about, I feel like we got to go back and give Amber two more topics here, because we kept, Nachelle and I were just like, kept adding them on, giving back to Amber. But you know, it just occurred to me as you guys were saying that one. So other things that you can look at for savings, right? We talked about windfalls, right? So there are some expenses that you have going on right now that are going to end. Okay. If you're making a car payment, there's going to be a day when it's possible that you're paying off that car payment, right? But instead of simply just taking that money and dropping it into your, let's go have fun and blow, again, look at how much of that do you want to keep paying and putting into savings, so that when you're ready to buy the next car, you've got a little bit of that background. So be creative. I mean, it's your life, it's your money, it's your importance. Come up with ways that work for you. If that's Nachelle's, look at it all the time. If it's Amber's, start small, add it in every single paycheck, put it into the budget. Whatever works for you, you're a great human being. Go do it, right?
Awesome. I think that's a good way to end our chat about saving money. We appreciate those of you who are on this call and watching and been participating. And, you know, if you are interested in learning more and maybe possibly having a coach help you out, you know, we can get one of these fabulous ladies to talk to you one-on-one. You are definitely able to do that if you reach out to us. Our phone number is 314-256-3995. If somebody could type that, can somebody type that onto the Facebook? But I think if you're on our Facebook page, you can see the phone number there. So I answer the phone, so I will be happy to set you up with that once you make that call. If you're looking for coaching on any topic, savings, budgeting, credit, home buying, all of those, and many more. So just, you know, working on debt, all of those things. So, but we're really excited you joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you in other classes and maybe one-on-one. So any final words, ladies?
Nope, just thanks for being here. It was great to see all of you. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks so much. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Bye.